What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Champion Living Podcast, the only podcast crossing the lines between the sport of rodeo and fitness. Today's episode, well, we talked about a lot of things, but mostly rest and why it's important in the weight room, why it's important in your training, and how you can implement it into your training. We're diving in right now.
Yeah. I didn't go to the gym this morning.
Hours.
I was like, I'm going to take a rest day. So I told Lacey, I was like, I'm just going to kind of get up when I get up. I usually get up and set an alarm for like 5 and get notifications and programming done before the kids wake up. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, dude, I slept like a rock and rolled out of bed at like 6:20. Cannon woke me up. He was like, Dad, it's time to get up. I'm like, okay. And so anyway, it was, it's been a long time since I slept like that. So some good rest.
Sleep is so nice.
Oh man,
so good. I've been waking up at my body just wakes me up when I don't know. Body's like, yep, you've rested. It is time to rise at like 4 a.m. And it's been doing that for the last week and a half. So I'll lay there and try and fall back to sleep just because I get up at 5 anyways. That's early enough.
Yeah, for sure.
4 is all right. We're living 2 days in one at this point in time.
Dude, I love waking up early, but right now it's just not working out for me. And it hasn't it's been a minute since I've been able to get on a good schedule where I was
since he was 9
waking up early. But I'm a hard
he just
person
snorted.
to wake up. I'm not necessarily a morning person naturally. But
that's
I do
how you
enjoy
know
it.
You think you're funny, Logan.
Oh man, I do. I really enjoy the mornings, and I'm just not very super functional after later in the evening. I feel like my best work is not done. For some people, Paul tends to do good work from whatever 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night or whatever while you're working. But I find I just feel like I don't do a great job then because I'm just ready to go to bed, and so I do enjoy getting up. I'd much rather go to bed early and get up early so that I can have that. It is especially, because when you're with kids, you have those options. It's either going to be get up at the butt crack of dawn and get an hour or 2 hours before the kids wake up, or it's stay up super late. And it's typically easier to stay up later, to get that time without the kids to be able to get stuff done, especially when, they're not in school. So they're home all day. So, and then you work from home. When are you gonna, you have a early morning or late night, and otherwise the kids are, even with an office space, they're just, they're just feet away. So,
and the several times that I've tried waking up early to beat them awake, it's I always make just enough noise that it wakes them up, and then they're up too. So it's way easier for me to put them to bed first and then stay up. And I feel like I'm a little bit more creative, at 9, 10 o'clock at night. I'm not quite so
been
focused,
back on
trying to make things happen.
Medicine.
Yeah, well, no, you can crack a beer and be a little creative at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Can't really do that at 9 in the morning.
Yeah, you.
Who says?
You can, but
who says, Paul?
Is your boss going to tell you not to? Come on.
Well, no, but the rest of my day might not go the way I want it to.
That's fair.
I don't like to be confined by the guidelines of society, Paul.
Yeah. By the guidelines of society. Oh man, that's so.
I want to go crack a beer right now just to prove it. It's 8 a.m. Let's go.
Podcast. Let's go.
It's 9 a.m. where you are. That makes it all right.
Yeah, that makes it okay.
I think the only time that I think dedicated fishing trips is the only time that I've drank at 9 o'clock in the morning ever in my life.
Man. I'm a little disappointed in you. Not gonna lie.
Well, I just don't drink large quantities. I'll drink often. I just don't drink a lot when I do.
That's
drink.
my thing. I do drink large quantities, but I don't drink it often. But when I do drink, it's see you guys in a couple days.
Yeah, I think that's how most people are. I've kind of I've figured out the moderation thing. I can drink, 5 days a week and have 1 or 2 beers, and it doesn't there's no.
My issue
it doesn't mess up my schedule at all.
I can't. I sleep so poorly when I drink is my biggest thing, and I can literally tell a huge difference when I wake up. I feel not that great. But my deal is, I like the whole philosophy is you'd can't hang over if you hang on kind of deal,
Mm-hmm.
So little hair of the dog is what just continues my day, and I'm not doing the hangover thing. We're just going to ride this out all the way through. And and then I'll do that for like 2 days usually. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with that for a year. I'll see you next year.
Yeah. I don't even really want to talk. I'm the same. I'm the same way. Maybe not with the hair of the dog, but like I'm not gonna drink for enjoyment. If I drink, I usually there's not a whole lot of moderation that goes on, as you guys just witnessed in Houston. So anyway, we can. Yeah, it's
a bad deal.
It was a good time.
It was so much fun.
It was a good time. It was
good team bonding.
I hadn't seen that side of me in months.
Neither have I.
The best part was like we're sitting at dinner after going out and playing laser tag, and Doug was not with us, and we'd ordered some drinks at dinner time, and then Logan's phone lights up and it says Doug, and he's like, oh shit, he's gonna find out that we're out here doing fun stuff without him. And then he answers the phone and Doug is just gone.
He's like, I need you to come pick me up. I need you to come pick me up. I'm like, well, we can do that, but I'm not driving because we've been drinking too. He's like, yes. Oh man, it was a good time.
I listened back to the podcast we recorded that night, and it is not for anybody's ears but ours. 98% because you can't understand what the hell we're saying.
Logan had the microphone like in his mouth, screaming at it the whole time.
And Chase tries to tell a story like 8 times, and Logan interrupts him every single time.
He had like a 5-minute story that I think it took him 2 hours to get halfway through.
It was hilarious.
That's going in the archives. That should be like we should like Rump Chat has the premium podcast or whatever you have to pay for, and they're like, here you go.
We could do that.
We'd have to charge a lot of money.
We don't say anything bad.
A lot of money.
You just can't understand what the hell we're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like seeing us in a form that not many people will ever see us in.
Yeah. Or really want to see us in.
We're not big on it.
Yeah, it's not something that you.
I just don't miss. I like when I was younger. I really enjoyed going out with the boys and getting tuned up or whatever. But as I get older, I can't handle it. I am not. My body rejects it firmly. It's not a good thing.
I think once you understand the effects of alcohol on your recovery and the effects of your recovery on your ability to build muscle and maintain like all that kind of stuff, I think that plays a huge role in it for me, because there's been a lot of times where
it's a solid
I'm like,
deterrent.
Yeah, I'm like, we could mix a drink. Lacey and I, the kids go to bed, like we could have a drink or two, and I'm like, I know I'm just going to be in the tank. I had a great workout this morning. I've got another great one scheduled for tomorrow, and it's just not worth me not feeling great, even with just one drink before bed. For me personally, like I just know I'm not going to feel great the next day. So I'm like, man, it's just not worth it, and that's like the trade-off. It's not that I'm necessarily anti-drinking as much as it's just not worth not seeing progress in the gym, because if I consistently did it, sure, a drink every once in a while, having a good time, not going to stop anything. But if I consistently did it, or it was a pattern I fell into, it would be something that it definitely wouldn't help my goals. So
absolutely. And we're definitely not fun haters in that way. Obviously, like we like to have fun. Everybody has a couple drinks every now and then. But I much prefer, if I'm gonna do it, I like to do it like earlier in the day, not a morning. I'm just like, I'm gonna have a couple of drinks like on the weekend around lunch or something like that. And maybe if I'm gonna have more than that, I'm gonna set a cutoff date or time at like 4. 3 p.m.
What I found,
something like
at
that,
least
where
for me,
it
and
gives
I'm sure
me
it's
a good 5-6 hours.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a little bit individual, but what I've at least seen. Some of these study shows it is at least 6 hours. And so, but for me, if I can have 1 to 3 drinks before 3 p.m. if I'm going to go to bed at say 9 or 10, and it has no effect, no negative effect on my recovery.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So like it can kind of get out of my system, but even one drink within that, 6 p.m. to bedtime window will absolutely tank my recovery. But sometimes that's also a
what do you
a
notice in your
risk I'm willing to
recovery?
take. Yeah,
What do you notice in
my
my
HRV tanks, and I have
hard?
a naturally very high heart rate variability, which is a good thing. It means that I can manage stress very well and I recover very well. But it will literally
Keep telling yourself that.
It'll cut it
Doug's
into
jealous.
a third or a quarter. Yeah. Doug's super jealous.
It's a highly individualized stat, okay?
It is. It really is. But yeah, my heart rate variability will go to the tank. My respiratory rate will be like 2 to 3 breaths higher per minute.
Mhm.
I think is what it is. That what it is? It's breaths per minute is the stat there. Yeah, it'll be like way high. Like it'll give me a warning sign like, hey, you might need to watch yourself. Yeah, there's something wrong with you. And then my heartbeat will be a good 20 beats per minute faster.
Dude,
at least.
Mine too. It's crazy. My heart rate is the same as if I'm going for a brisk walk. Like when I go for a brisk walk and I've got like a heart rate of like 85, 90 beats a minute, that's what my heart rate for real will be like when I'm when I'm drunk and in my sleep. It's crazy how hard my body is working while I'm trying to sleep.
To process it. And there are some products nowadays that you can take that help actually with your body's digestion and absorption of alcohol. And from what I hear, not that they're like, you're just going to you can go just get totally schmammered and take them, and they will help you a little bit. You know what I mean? They're going to kind of take the edge off. I haven't tried them, so I don't know, but I have been tempted. But every time I'm tempted, I'm like, I just don't want to test them.
Yeah.
you know, because that means if they don't work, I'm going to be hurting the next day. And I don't like that because you wake up and you see you see that resting heart rate, you get the booze blues.
The one that you're probably referring to is like Z-Biotics or something is the name.
Z-Biotics, and then there's the day after or something, the morning after, which is hilarious spin on marketing.
Yeah. But basically what they do is they're genetically, or at least Z-Biotics is, from what I know, is like a genetically modified compound that will it will extract the toxin that's created as a byproduct. So that hangover feeling that you feel the next morning, it's because you it's like I forget the name of it, but there's a toxic byproduct that your body produces when you break down alcohol, and this Z-Biotics will kind of bind with that and move it out very quickly, and so then you don't feel hungover. Acetaldehyde or something.
Yes, acetaldehyde.
Because I remember it sounded like formaldehyde.
Yep.
That's just whatever works to remember. I love it.
Yeah.
But that is kind of cool. A little fun fact is like that's the reason that you're getting hungover is because your body's inability to process that specific byproduct of alcohol. And so maybe these Z-Biotics or something like that, you know, if you are someone that's going out, and there's a lot of jobs, man, where socially drinking is just part of the deal. And I've worked those jobs before. So
I'm working one of those jobs right now.
Being a dad does not count, bud. I'm sorry.
Just wait till you have kids to tell me that.
4 kids, I'm drinking when I want. Yeah, that might be a good thing to add into your regiment, you know, especially maybe there are a couple of nights a week where you do have more than 2 or 3 and help your body just process that. Not that it's the healthiest thing to do, but definitely now in today's world, there's so many things that you can add in to supplement some of these lifestyle habits that aren't great, but Band-Aids on bullet holes, baby. I did want to get into HRV real quick though, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't understand all that. So I put my Whoop back on. I like to switch back and forth between that and my Apple Watch. I mostly do that because I'm a head case, and I start wigging out about my Whoop and like, oh, this thing doesn't know what it's talking about. I need to put something different on. But after about 3 years of trading back and forth, I like the Whoop the best. But HRV is heart rate variability. So this measures the variance in the time between your heartbeats while you're asleep. And this is a great indicator of how well your body can adapt to its environment and perform. So basically what it's saying, like Paul has a high HRV. In general, a higher HRV means better fitness. However, super individualized metric. So me coming in at a solid 49, I'm at like my peak over here, which is so wild. I just don't understand why that is. But age, gender, lifestyle, fitness impact your HRV rather than comparing yourself to others. You know, if you do have a Whoop, me comparing myself to Paul, I would think I'm on my deathbed.
Right. You don't want to compare yourself to others, but you can compare your own trends. Like, so
yes.
if yours went from 49 to 60, you're like, oh, I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
But like mine's already, you know, I can hit 211 milliseconds for an HRV. And so like if I'm falling below that, then I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing something that's, you know, causing me not to recover very well.
Yeah.
And so like then I can identify that trend and be like, no, I need to get it more to where it's more consistent.
I completely agree. And that can go for any kind of fitness tracker that you may be using, whether you're tracking sleep or you're tracking calories or you're like, typically speaking, a lot of those things are not going to necessarily be super accurate as far as how many, you know, the Apple Watch and how many calories you burn in your workout. However, they're great for tracking trends.
You're taking.
You know, I've had an Apple Watch. Yep. Exactly. I've had an Apple Watch and I've had an Apple Watch and I've had a Whoop. And so looking at the difference, you know, my Whoop would say that I'm getting 2 hours of REM a night. My Apple Watch says that I'm getting less than, you know, around about 1. So there's a big difference there, but I can still track the trends. So the numbers are different. I don't know how accurate it is, but I can still look at it in comparison with that device and what that device gives me. So I can still see in comparison there. You know, it might not necessarily be the gospel truth, but it's helpful for seeing how did I sleep last night or how many calories am I burning in comparison with how many I burned at my last workout or last week or whatever.
Yeah, one of my goals right now is to increase the metric of steps on my Apple Watch. And, you know, like, you know, if it says I'm getting 6,000 steps a day, like that may or may not be very accurate. It could be, you know, up or down 1,000, you know. But if I watch the weekly average over time and I just try to make it go higher to where I'm getting more steps than I was previously, then I know that I'm at least on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is crazy. This just last thing about steps. Like I've never had an Apple Watch, and I just got one 2 months ago. And so when I was tracking my steps, obviously before I would just use my phone, and I'd have to have my phone on me. And on most days, it would say if just left to my own devices and not going for a walk, I was getting between 2,500 and 5,000 steps. And I was like, oh, what's wrong with me? Like that's crazy that I'm getting that little, you know. But what I put on the Apple Watch. And all the little times where I didn't have my phone on me, just getting out of bed, walking to the kitchen, walking back, all that naturally left to my own devices without exercise, I'm actually getting more like 7,500 or 8,000 a day. So then you add in exercise or I go for a walk. And this month I've been averaging like 13,000 a day, somewhere around in there. We've been working around the little hobby farm here and whatnot. But it is crazy how much more you actually get when you're accurately tracking that by having a watch on that's with you as opposed to just carrying your phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how little like intention it takes to actually increase that too. Like if I go for a half an hour walk, my steps double from what it was if I just didn't go for a walk. Like yesterday, I was pretty much in the office all day, from the time I woke up till about the time I went to bed. So I didn't have time to go for a walk. I did my regular workout, but if I were to today go for a walk and do the same thing I did yesterday, my steps will probably be twice as much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's
crazy.
Cool, there's lots of things you can add into your daily just life, like parking further away at the grocery store, or taking the stairs instead of the escalator. After lunch, making sure that I go for a little 10-minute walk, like whatever it is, add it in. Add it in.
Yeah, because it's good for the soul.
It is good for the soul. You didn't read the chat, did you?
I don't guess so. My bad.
Was there a chat?
A chat where?
Group chat. On here, bub.
Oh, no. I looked at my
down
text
the bottom
messages.
right-hand corner.
Oh, my bad.
Oh.
I looked at my text messages.
Anyways, yeah. Walking, paying attention to your steps is a great thing. On my client stress days, I usually say accumulate 10,000 steps is just a good way to actively keep moving and a good way to recover as well. sunlight is my favorite thing about walks, especially this time of year. A lot of times throughout the winter, we're pretty low on vitamin D, which is, unless you're supplementing with it, right? And vitamin D is a huge proponent to a lot of things. It actually, I consider it more of a hormone than a vitamin.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I read why that actually is the other day. I was looking at getting a vitamin D supplement, and so I've started one recently. And so vitamin D, it starts as sunlight on your skin, and then as it processes through your body, it does turn into a hormone. I forget the exact pathway that it takes, but eventually it ends up as a hormone. And so it literally does affect you the way a hormone does. It just takes a different pathway.
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool that something that simple can affect your daily life that much. And just going on a walk and getting sun at the same time, knocking 2 birds, 1 stone. No brainer. Something I want to talk to everyone about, and something that's been coming up a lot of my check-ins, and I've got clients that are saying like they're really, really blown up from some of the workouts. And I'm okay, cool. Obviously, we don't set them up like that. There may be portions with intensity that are, meant to elicit some kind of response that is meant to elevate that heart rate. But we will always give you adequate recovery time so we can approach that next set with the same intensity, right? So when I'm hearing clients, athletes say, like I'm gassed by like part C. It's like, okay, well, let's start asking some questions. And the question that keeps getting answered I'm not following along exactly to the program is the rest time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys, a lot of girls get in the gym, and it's so understandable. Like you have this energy about yourself. You want to hammer it. You want to kind of go hard. If you're an athlete in rodeo and anything, you start thinking about your sport while you're working out. That is naturally going to increase the intensity that you're going to put out. And so we've got guys and girls running from A1 to A2 to A3 for 3 or 4 sets, and they knock it out in 6 minutes. And man, I'd be whooped too.
Yeah.
I'd be feeling that as well. So
yeah, when it was probably designed to be like 20 minutes,
Yeah. Yeah. If we're, when I think, at least when I'm setting up workouts, I'm not only am I paying attention to the reps and everything that I'm giving the athlete, but I'm setting them up and literally counting, okay, there's this tempo, they're doing this many reps, that's this many seconds. Okay, it's this much rest time that's going to be needed for that, times that many sets. Okay, that exercise alone takes this long. And the way when I set them up, I'm like, this athlete, a beginning level athlete just started. Okay, I need 30 minutes. Okay, so I'm setting it up in the 30 minutes-ish from warm up to cool down and workout. As we progress, if guys and girls have more time, obviously we're setting up for a longer hour and a half. I really don't go longer than an hour and a half. So big thing I think we should talk about is rest time. Why it's important to rest. The approach that I think is better is going in the gym and, like we talk about, doing perfect reps, but like follow the program that you're dedicating yourself and your time to as it's written, because I would hope 99% of the time it's written with a actual reason in mind, right? With an actual goal. And that rest time is a huge part of achieving those goals. What do you guys think about rest?
I completely agree. I've only had one client ever say like that they're just not going to rest. I've had one client out of all the ones, and they're just like, nope, I'm not going to rest. Sorry, I'm just not used to it, and I don't enjoy it. And so, typically speaking, though, I have a lot of clients that they don't tell me that they're not taking the rest, but I know that they're not, like you said earlier. But if we're looking for certain adaptations from our training, rest is a huge variable that gets skipped, when we're looking for, it might be strength work, or we're looking for power development, or we're looking for hypertrophy. There's different rest periods for all of those things. And just by ignoring the rest period, you can be turning a workout that was designed to make you stronger into more of a hypertrophy or a muscle endurance workout, which is not necessarily a bad thing unless you're a rodeo athlete and you've hired a coach to program, and then you're just ignoring the program.
Yeah, it's cardio with weights at that point.
Exactly.
It's like grabbing a Go Ruck bag and running a half a mile when you're a bull rider.
Mm-hmm.
It is like that. It is exactly like that, which is
it just doesn't make
senseless.
sense, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense until we're having to run from the bulls for miles and then maybe possibly pick them up on our backs at some point.
That's how
I
you.
think that only happens in Spain, though.
I'm not sure they even pick them up, man.
That's how you develop mental toughness, Doug. Obviously, that's how you get your grit. You show your grit. Yeah.
We're bull riders. We're tough.
Uh,
Anyways,
okay,
yeah,
sorry.
back to the benefits of rest. Let's talk about this, guys. Logan, that was great points, though. There are specific rest times and amounts of time that are set up for each response that we're trying to get. So whether we're trying to build strength, create hypertrophy, muscle endurance, whatever it is, you're resting because that rest time and work time make that response happen in your body, right? Also, if we're trying to build strength, for instance, and we are at a very low rep number and a very high percentage of what our max capacity is, right? So say we're at, 2 reps at 90 to 95% of your 1 rep max currently. If you go and do 2 reps and you rest for 60 seconds and go back into 2 reps, there is no way that you are going to be able to produce the same amount of energy and power that you did on that first set on that second set, which makes the quality of rep go down. So that rest time is really important because, yes, it will be boring, especially when you're doing strength work. I remember doing 4-minute rests sometimes, like when I was really, really competitively weightlifting towards these, like our test weeks and things like that. And it drove me bonkers. I'd have to just walk. I just pace the gym. I just walk for 4 minutes, but I'd get back and I would crush it. Every time I'd cut it short, it would cut me short. Like I'd get that first rep and rep 2s and like, oh, nope, might shit my pants here. Not going good. You know, it's the rest time is very, very important, guys. And no, I didn't really shit my pants. It only happened one time. I couldn't help it. Okay.
No, but on that note, like I'm in a strength cycle right now and I'm doing 1 rep maxes on Fridays and I'm using 5 sets to work up to a 1 rep max. And in between each of those 5 sets, I'm doing 1 rep at a high intensity, very high intensity. And then I'm literally sitting down in a chair and working on my breathing for, like you said, 4 or 5 minutes until I do my second rep. And to use your bull rider example, like of why rucking with a backpack is not necessarily the best thing for them. While it might improve your cardio, and that's great to add in every once in a while. We think about the energy systems that we use in bull riding. From the time that the latch cracks until you're safely out of the arena is a max 20 seconds, more like 10 seconds, unless you have to avoid a wreck. And then maybe, you're spending a few more seconds scrambling away, but you're putting out all out effort for a maximum of 20 seconds. So that's the energy system that you need to be training. And then you're probably not going to get on a bull again until tomorrow, or at worst case scenario, 5 minutes later. So if you're at the very soonest. So if your workouts are resembling all out effort for 10 to 20 seconds and then 5 minutes of rest, you're training the exact same energy system that you're using in the arena. And that's what's going to improve your performance.
Dude, that right there is the most important thing, that if we could get that across to every rodeo athlete, when it comes to picking what you're doing in your training, it has to match the energy systems that you're using in your competition. And that's what drives me so freaking nuts about people running for long extended amounts of time, or like you just said, you are going all out for 20. Yeah, it fires me up, dude, because still we've been saying this for years and people still argue with us about it. And it's an absolute scientific fact. The sport of rodeo, you are in the phosphagen and fast glycolysis energy systems, period. There is no other expansion past that. There's no event that's going longer than 20 seconds from start to finish. And that's you getting out of the arena. Like you're not even in the arena anymore. So tell me how running 5 miles with a rucksack, or even a quarter mile with a rucksack, does anything else besides prove that you are mentally tough enough to do this. And that's cool. If that's where you're lacking, by all means, go get mentally tougher. But if you want to become better in the arena, start training smarter and thinking about the things that actually happen in the sport rather than just jumping off on these fad exercises that are, oh, these look cool. I'm going to go try hump a fucking stability ball up and down the gym because that's what this guy's doing. Like, dude, it's so much further than that now. We've been doing this for years. We've been spreading good information, but this is the absolute fact is you have to make your training replicate the same energy systems as what you're competing in. And that does not mean going in the gym and recreating your ride. That means working on the muscles, all those things that are going to strengthen you to perform in the arena and doing it in those fashions, in those time frames, whether it's a 20-second, 30-second isometric hold, resting, going on, like whatever it is, it's gotta facilitate what's going on in the arena. But it doesn't mimic it. Like you're never going to recreate that intensity. And if you think your goal is to throw up every time, I just think you should really reevaluate where you're at and look at all of our Instagram pages and follow what's going on there.
If you enjoy running,
better yet, download the Champion Living Fitness app.
Absolutely. If you enjoy running, go for a run. That's okay. Let's just not pretend that it's actually helping your performance. It's not specific to your performance. If you enjoy running, that I love that. I have a lot of people that love to go run or they like, and that's completely okay. I'm not saying that you can't do that, but it's not directly going to help your performance in the rodeo arena. And as long as we can agree on that fact scientifically, get after it. Whatever you want to do, big dog. Let's just not pretend it's helping your performance.
Yeah.
And there's better alternatives for cardio anyway. Like if you're
there's so many other things that we could be doing, especially when we're getting into that sport specific type thing where we're talking about rodeo athletes. There are way better things that we could be doing to cover the cardio base than running miles. But again, if you like to run and you're just the average person that wants to feel good and look good, cardio is important. Like you have to have some bit of that. But it's not, like Logan, what you just said, let's not pretend that it's going to be any type of application to being better rodeo athlete. It just won't. And that's why we're here, is to help spread the message that there is better training options out there. Go ahead, bud.
I was just gonna say it comes back to the mindset behind rodeo athletes. I mean, just about every rodeo athlete I know is very intense. We have to be for the sport. You know, the intensity is really has a place and is extremely important in being a successful rodeo athlete. But the problem is that we try to take that intensity of the rodeo arena and we try to transfer it to the gym, and that usually fleshes itself out as skipping rest or really, really minimizing rest, which completely diverts the intention of our workout. If you're not following the rest periods, we're not going to be accomplishing the goals that we have set. When you come in and you hire me or Paul or Doug, or any one of our coaches, Tyler, Natasha, any of them, they are going to look at the goals that you have, and they are going to come up with an overarching theme for your training in this season of life that you're in, based on the rodeos you're going to and based on your goals. And part of that, a very small part of that, is our rest in between exercises, because maybe right now we're focusing on strength, or maybe right now we're focusing on hypertrophy, or whatever it might be. So you're literally saying, by taking away the rest because you want it to be more intense, you're literally saying, I know that I'm paying you for your expertise, but I actually don't agree with you, and I'm going to ignore the programming. That's what you're really saying, which is silly to do if you've hired a professional.
It doesn't.
Yeah. So let's break it down. We've kind of danced around this question, like, determining different goals and stuff, and why you need to rest these certain times. So let's see, like, where, if your goal is X, like, what does your rest need to be? And so these, finding the appropriate rest times, and these are all, proven fact. Any good strength and conditioning coach is going to tell you this. If you are strength training, you're moving a heavy weight close to your 1 rep max for, just a few repetitions, which is going to be very high intensity. You're close to failure at the end of these 2 to 3 reps. And then you're going to want to rest for 2 to 5 minutes in between. And then if you're training for power, now these are very dynamic movements. You're moving your entire body through different ranges, and you're expressing a lot of output. maybe that's heavy weight, maybe it's not, maybe it's just a dynamic movement. And again, you're going to want to rest 2 to 5 minutes between these sets. And I would, for power, I'd almost err, on the higher side for that. But then if you just want to look jacked and you want to get big and grow muscle, now we're going to be using lighter weights to take our muscles close to failure. So we're going to be using higher repetitions. And then we only need to really rest 30 to 90 seconds in between, because we kind of want to, piss our muscles off a little bit. We want them to burn and stuff. And so if you're ignoring your rest and you're doing lightweight, high repetitions, all you're doing is growing muscle. And that's not what most rodeo athletes want, but that's what they're doing. That's what they're training for. And they just don't know it.
Absolutely, man. And rest is going to improve your performance too in the gym. So like we were saying earlier, if you're struggling on heavy weights on that second set, man, if you take a little longer rest period, you're going to see that you're going to recover a lot better, and you're probably going to lift that weight successfully the next time. On the other side, what we were just talking about, if you're looking to improve your endurance, if that actually is you, shortening those rest periods is going to help you increase the stamina, your ability to perform multiple reps. Whatever you are lacking there, rest is going to be a contributing factor to the results that we're going to get, right? How implementing it into our training program, Logan, you were talking about this earlier. You want to kind of just go over how you do that with athletes?
Absolutely. I always encourage them to use a stopwatch on their phone, or if they have an Apple Watch, a lot of times if you start a workout, it just gives you a running total of your total workout time. And so it's pretty easy to look at your watch when you get done with your set and just see where you're at. Maybe you're at 42 minutes. Okay, according to my program, I need to rest 3 minutes. So I'm going to come back at 45. And like you said earlier, I do the same thing. I encourage them, grab some water, take a seat, go for a walk, whatever. Just let's just wait. But being as precise as possible, because a lot of times I've done this before too, where I'm like, okay, I need to rest 3 minutes, and I don't set a timer, and maybe it's before I had my Apple Watch. I'm not using that, and I'm just going to kind of guesstimate, and it never fails that I always miss the mark, and I might go back in doing
about
heavy strength work.
Probably.
Yeah. Typically speaking, I'm like, yeah, it's been 3 minutes. It was really less than 2, And so, just being
I've set
precise
timers on my watch before and then gone back to my workout, and then my timer go off halfway through my next set. And I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't rest.
I've been there too.
For sure. But we want to be very precise with when we're writing a program. We want to be very precise with the adaptations that we're going to get from your body. So you need to be very precise when you're tracking, paying attention to the rest, and using a stopwatch on your phone or on your watch or whatever. If nothing else, most gyms are going to have some sort of our gym has a clock, and it's got the second hand, and you can glance at that when you get done with your set. Pay attention and see when I need to rest however 2-3 minutes, and take that intention of taking my rest periods seriously will dramatically increase your performance in the gym, which over time is going to dramatically increase the adaptations and the gains that you're going to get from your workouts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Rest is so underrated and overlooked. And I think the biggest thing with rodeo athletes, what rest teaches you is how to harness that intensity and harness that want to go, because if you can make yourself rest and be disciplined enough to rest and use those working sets to create that intensity that you want, that's where we're winning. That's how we're getting big steps in our training. You've got to rest, y'all. And just to recap what we just talked about, if you're doing strength, power exercises in that 90 to 80% range, or really dynamic movements that are requiring a lot of effort, you're going to be wanting to be in that 2 to 5 minutes of rest time. And your body will tell you when it's ready to go for the most time. But be fully rested, be fully back to zero, and go again. And whatever that rest time is for you, pick that. And it'll change per set. It'll change per percentage. It just depends on the day and the individual. If we're looking for that hypertrophy, that endurance, 30 to 90 seconds of rest is going to be right where you're going to want to be for that. Guys, till next time, we'll catch you later.